You didn't let me introduce it. What the hell is wrong with you?
I'm just going to tell you what it is, then we can go back through it.
All right. Agitarsi filatore.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded Friday, June 16th, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. On episode 76, The What and the Why is sponsored by Motive Wave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a conversation on news and the markets. There's a 30.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Count in Italian, Bob.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
He does it faster than in English.
It was my first language, so to be honest.
You know,
now, what's one of the first things they teach you as a little kid? Counting in the alphabets. The alphabets? Are there more than one alphabets? No, it's just one alphabet, right? I'm freaked out by this news.
What news?
You dare say what news? How dare you? You know what news.
I don't know what news.
You didn't hear about Amazon Whole Foods? Come on, stop it.
Yeah,
I actually didn't.
Seriously? Dude, Amazon's buying Whole Foods.
what?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see. I've been.
You're being
When did that
honest.
come out? It had to be recent.
4 minutes ago.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Whole Foods halted. Amazon to buy Whole Foods. Yeah, I've been tied up for the last little bit.
Yeah.
Amazon Foods?
Important. 13,
Why is Amazon buying Whole Foods?
$13. Because Walmart's doing delivery.
Well, how does Whole Foods?
I'm sorry.
What?
Walmart's getting crushed. Costco's getting crushed in the pre-market. Well, now it's going to be post-market in a minute. But look, this is extremely interesting. You know, it's Whole Foods was down 6.5% yesterday. The stock. Well, I mean, they set the price. It doesn't matter. They're buying at $42 a share, according to the story that I read, and their stock fell 6.5% yesterday.
Yesterday closed at 33.06.
Yeah. So it ends up being a much bigger premium, but like had yesterday never happened, they were still going to buy it at $42 a share. I mean, obviously they didn't do that overnight, but it fell 6.5% yesterday, and you want to laugh? So shares of Whole Food Markets, this is from Jeremy Bowman at Motley Fool. Shares of Whole Food Markets were tumbling after the organic grocer feuded with activist investors, and shares of rival Kroger plummeted after it said profits and comparable sales fell in the first quarter. Kroger also lowered its guidance for the year. Yesterday, Whole Foods, okay, this is day before today, Whole Foods CEO John Mackey called activist investor Jana Partners greedy bastards for pushing a sale and trying to destroy his reputation. That's yesterday. There's no way Mackey didn't know about it yesterday. There's zero chance of that.
What, you just don't sell a company overnight? Go, hey, we just woke up and decided to sell today.
You're greedy bastards. All right, how about $42? Okay.
Well,
this morning, Kroger posted it. This was yesterday. This morning, Kroger posted an ugly earnings report, sending its own stock down more than 18%. And then Sprout Farmers Market, SFM, fell. Super Value, SVU, fell. And obviously, Whole Foods fell as well. But I just find it hysterical that this happened yesterday. This quote is from yesterday.
You know what I found shocking?
What?
Amazon expects to finance Whole Foods deal with debt.
That's shocking.
They're leveraging their growth.
Oh, and Amazon stock's up and Whole Foods is halted, of course. Where does that put 42? Because yesterday it would close at 33. And I won't ask you to look at your charts, Bob, but 42. All right, that 42. You want to know what's so ironic about that?
What?
This is actually fascinating. We had a horizontal channel breakout in Whole Foods.
Yeah.
You know where the target was?
Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you, Mike. I wanted to see on the stock if we had a buy signal somewhere that maybe kind of went against us on the 6.5% fall. So I'm thinking that somewhere on the weekly chart, we might have had a buy that then came close to the stop yesterday, but didn't hit it. That's what I'm hoping happened.
It didn't hit the stop.
Thank you.
I'm giving you the exact numbers. The horizontal channel breakout target, 4181.
You are spinning, Mike. You are just spinning your wheels.
I am spinning around. So I'm spinning in happiness.
So anyway, when I saw this story, I immediately thought of what you were telling me early in the week that we unfortunately didn't put out, was that there was a potential long trade in Whole Foods, and we didn't put it out because we just had other stuff going on. But I think we should do a video showing everybody exactly what we mean by this, because this is the reason we trade price action. Nobody knows, or nobody knew about this Whole Foods buy. Clearly, or the Amazon buy of Whole Foods. Clearly, even John Mackey. I mean, he obviously knew, but he certainly didn't sound like he knew yesterday if you're just waking up this morning. And you could hear the excitement in my voice, but this is exactly why we trade price action and we talk about news, because it's fun. Talking about this stuff and doing this podcast and stuff, this stuff's fun. But trading price action is the only way to do it. What was that trade again? Because we talked about it earlier in the week.
Well, this trade actually triggered a few weeks ago. It was on a weekly basis, but it was a close above the top of the horizontal channel, which we got back on in April. It didn't get close to the target yet. The full target, well, the first full target was 4181. My slightly adjusted target, taking into account an end of a weekly clear path, was about 4160. So anywhere from 4160 to 4181 were the targets on this. And
the purchase price of Amazon for Whole Foods is $42 a share.
And this thing could have been entered it could have been entered theoretically yesterday on the pullback, but it could have been re-entered last week at an even better price, around 35.74 on the close last week, because it closed, rallied up for a couple of weeks, pulled back to the rising R zone, which a lot of these do on the weekly basis. You know, you get so many opportunities to enter these a lot of times. And then I mean, it's not open yet, but I don't see it opening less than 42.
No, it's probably going to open more than 42. But this is exactly what we mean, and this is why we'll do a video for you guys, and you can check it out. We'll put it up on the YouTube channel. I don't know what we'll call it. Maybe it'll be a new thing where we put up some like lasting stuff under the heading of Path Chat or something. But we'll do a video about exactly why price action and why we do it the way we do it. And this is a phenomenal example, just in my opinion.
Suggestion: why price action is a winning strategy.
Why price action is a winning strategy, chat. Perfect.
Well, so we've had what are they going to call it? Are they going to rename it?
Echo Foods.
I don't know. I don't think they shouldn't. They shouldn't. But it seems, at least in the timing of it, seems like a direct response to Whole Foods having a better distribution market for 1 or 2 hour delivery, especially with the idea that people leaving their jobs can just go drop stuff off. Walmart has become a good competitor for Amazon because they have a great warehouse network, and they already have a bricks and mortar presence where people have been able to pick things up they wanted same day. And then they added the delivery from employees. Well, Whole Foods already delivers. And if you've ever been in a Whole Foods lately, they have a rack of stuff where like people can order their groceries online or even call them in, but most of them do it online, and then they just walk in and grab them off the rack.
And they have very high-end clientele to afford the organic juices.
It's crazy. And, it obviously isn't a direct, oh my God, they're doing delivery, we got to buy Whole Foods. You don't make that decision and pay $13.7 billion on, oh my God, we got to do this. But it's wow. I mean, I've been talking on TV and everywhere else that we should kind of scale back on our buy and hold of Amazon, but keep it, and start ramping up our buy and hold of Walmart. Not really backing away from that yet, but where's Walmart stock? Anyone look? Is it open? Is it halted?
See. Walmart. Let me go switch to the daily. Oh boy, this is wow. Is that today? Yeah. Walmart, massive gap down, traded down to yesterday's close was 78.91. Today's open was 73.95, traded down to 73.29. Now it's rallying back. It's trading right at 75. But this is a good. Remember we said don't chase Walmart.
Yep.
This now, for people interested, I mean, it's left beyond a massive gap, but this is the kind of thing where if you were patient and wanted to pick up Walmart, not necessarily, well, you're not going to hear this on a Friday, but once this is released, this is going to give you opportunities to get in to Walmart at a much better price, and Walmart is not going to zero.
Walmart is often not going to, well, it was never on the going to zero list.
No, but what's fascinating, again, price action. Where we had our rising R zone on the weekly and a prior breakout level, 74.03. So it gapped just below that, and now it's trading 74.75. So it returned to a prior breakout level, which is a good place to accumulate it.
Yeah.
Traded straight down to its 200 simple. That's where support came in, which their simple moving average 200 day, which we watched, was about 73.31. Traded right to there.
This is what makes fundamentals exciting. This is fun to try and figure out why they're doing this, what the implications are going to be, what the ramifications are going to be. But it has. I mean, you're going to be terrible trading if that's the way you do it. I'm going to buy Whole Foods because maybe Amazon will buy them. Nobody knew this. Nobody knew that. So stop it. Everybody.
I think somebody knew it.
Well, I don't have a way to do this, but it'd be interesting to see if there was unusual options activity.
The loan creditors for Amazon. Hey, everybody out there. We have a great way for you to support the team here at Path Trading Partners doing the podcast. We do not have advertising. We opened a Patreon page, and for $1 a month, if everyone listening gives $1 a month, you can help us do this show with Patreon. So patreon.com/Path Trading Partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stafford.
Very good. Well, I had another follow-up thing before we get to more Amazon news. I just wanted to mention we talked about the credit card write-offs.
Yep.
Citibank just released their May credit card write-offs. They up to 2.94% versus 2.34 month over month. So the charge-offs keep going up. Interesting little thing. We've talked about multiple things.
I think it's interesting that we need to talk about Grand Tour.
We do.
Just talking about Amazon.
We do. Amazon Grand Tour, which is a very popular show and one of Stafford's favorites.
Oh, my favorite show.
We had.
It is.
Didn't you give up on it or no? I thought you gave up on it.
Mike did. I don't give up on it. No.
I ended up watching every one of them.
Yeah. Those guys are like my Frank Zappa. Yeah, I'll never give up on it.
They're funny.
So last Friday, the Richard the Hamster Hammond was driving a Rimac Concept 1, which is this sounds really bizarre. The Croatian electric hypercar. Like
What?
Like, where are you going to picture an all-electric hypercar coming from? Which this hypercar, oh boy, it has 4 electric motors that combined output of 1,224 horsepower and 1,180 foot-pounds of torque, which is built in Croatia, which is not known for its supercar status in the world. But Richard...
It looks like it's a Conan's egg, but okay, go ahead.
I want to do so many inappropriate jokes. with this.
Richard Hammond sort of, have they released what caused the accident yet? But he went sort of off a cliff, rolled the car, got out of it. He just shattered his knee.
He lost cohesion, okay? He lost road cohesion. Simple as that.
Oh, look at that wreck.
Yeah.
Can you tweet out the picture of the wreck at some point?
He pretty much spun out of control.
Wow, that is amazing.
The thing is, it just caught fire. It completely burned to the ground instantly with all those batteries.
Yeah, we've seen that happen occasionally with a Tesla, where if you puncture the battery packs and it's not good.
Jeremy Clarkson had this to say. It was the biggest crash I've ever seen and the most frightening, but incredibly and thankfully, Richard seems to be okay.
He's only going to be able to do paddle shifter cars from now on.
This is his second crash. He crashed in a rocket car about a decade ago, and he was in a coma. So, this is just rote for the hamster.
Now, in other Amazon news, not related to the crash of their popular show, Piper Jaffray raised Amazon's price target to $1,200 from $1,050. I think that's before they bought Whole Foods too. Yes. So.
Here's what the fact that they're going to finance this with debt should hit the stock, but we might see a Tesla effect here, where just the Amazon fanboys just are saying, no way, Amazon's going to rule the world. I don't care about their debt. Because for years they were overvalued because they didn't make a profit. Then they started making a profit, which started this run of just straight up for Amazon. As of right now, I'm seeing Amazon up close to 3%. Is that right, Mikey?
Let me switch back. I was on an Amazon weekly chart. It did pull back to the R zone on the weekly chart. Right now, Amazon did gap up from yesterday's close, but it's down slightly for the day. It's up 2.91% from yesterday's close.
And Amazon was bounced off the 50-day. I didn't touch it, but came close to it.
Yeah, it already spiked through the 50-day when we had that big FANG sell-off last Friday. After we talked about it on the show, we're like, maybe these stocks are a bit
be concerned.
Yeah, and then boom, we look at the charts later in the day, and it was like, wow, that was timing for you. Amazon, is still down below last week's high, coming in at $1,016.50. But it's approaching the $1,000 mark again, so people actually like this for Amazon.
Amazon and Tesla, they get a pass. It doesn't matter. It's like what they're going to do in the future matters more than how much it costs them to do it in the present.
Well, we have a lot going on with FANG stocks. Just happens to be there's a lot of things in the news. But Apple, Citi cuts iPhone 8 sales, earnings per share forecasts, now sees third and fourth quarter 40 million and 89 million. Verse 47 and 83 previously, cuts 2017 earnings per share at 8.55 to 9. Apple, we just talked about Amazon reapproaching its highs. Tesla already exceeded its prior highs with the sell-off. Apple is trading at the lower end of a weekly rotation zone and pulled back to a prior breakout level. So for anybody looking for a long-term accumulation, not saying it can't fall lower, it's looking a little weak, but if this is a good place to, right now it's about 144. This is, if you're looking to accumulate and hold and pick up some more Apple shares, this could be a point to start dipping your toe back in the water and pick it up lower than its most recent highs at 156.65. So this is a nice, and also Mizuho downgraded in the price target cut. They also downgraded Apple, which is pretty rare to have an Apple downgrade. So, but this is
that was interestingly timed. A downgrade. It was after the first day that they fell.
Yeah, the analysts again. They're downgrading Apple to neutral from buy. Well, adjusting the price target to 150 from 160. So it was trading 156. Well, I love these analysts. We've talked about that before, Bob. The price target was 160. It was trading 156, and they cut it to 150. It was still trading above 150.
I know.
So what? Now you're saying below? It's mess. Now it's pulled back below it, but it could easily rally back to 150 Even if it's going to head lower, it could rally back there first.
I can't stress enough. Analyst upgrades and downgrades, especially from the bigger shops, they move the stock. But I couldn't stress enough to just ignore their price targets. I know people that will look at it and go, well, analysts have a price target of 180, so it should go $20 higher. No, they're if it doesn't, they'll move it down and they'll be right. They're the ultimate rear view mirror predictions is analyst price targets.
Was that your official Jim Cramer?
No, it wasn't. It was the guy that says that to me all the time. I did my Jim Cramer last week, didn't I?
Just slip into it when you need to. And don't call it. Just do it.
Speaking of rose-colored glasses that analysts usually have, they should get a new pair of the Snap glasses they're working on. Snapchat, which now is below its IPO. Well, right. Oh, it hit a low of 17. What was it supposed to IPO at? I mean, it gapped up, but it wasn't supposed to IPO at 17.
Yeah, I believe that was the initial price that they listed it at.
Yeah, it's back there at hit a low this week of 17. But Snapchat is developing a second version of its spectacles, which so many people bought the first version, which may include augmented reality. Don't know if that's going to turn the stock around.
Learn the lesson of GoPro. Don't try and take your IPO money and become something you're not.
What kind of GPU is going to be on those glasses? It's like going to burn your face.
There's going to be a big, like the size of an old VCR video camera stuck to your forehead.
It's going to be a bag phone.
I had a bag phone.
Once they release the monocle, then I have concerns.
Oh, that's so good.
So, yeah, they're I don't know what they're doing. Although this is sort of interesting. This ties in Snapchat and McDonald's, and I don't know how this is going to work either. McDonald's is going to hire 250,000 people this summer via Snapchat, Spotify, and Hulu. They've coined the term Snapplications. They're going to use a little 10-second ad running on Snapchat where people can learn about all the wonderful employment opportunities at McDonald's, hit a button, and then it takes them to an online application.
Okay, that I like.
So McDonald's came out and said, quote, "We're always looking for new and innovative ways to find job seekers. We thought Snapplications was a great way to allow us to meet job seekers where they are, their phones." So starting June 13th, which was earlier this week, Snapchat users nationwide may be served a 10-second video ads of real restaurant employees talking about the benefits of working at McDonald's. Viewers can then swipe up to instantly visit the McDonald's career webpage in Snapchat to explore the opportunities offered by McDonald's and apply to their local restaurants if they so choose.
Yeah, the only downside is I see McDonald's, all their corporate secrets inside their restaurants are going to be snapped and going to be public because these people will be Snapchatting the fry machine.
Snapchatting the fry machine?
Yeah, they're gonna, how do you make an egg McMuffin? Okay, let's make a video.
But then all the things disappear, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh
I don't think Snapchat's
awesome.
a great way to steal corporate secrets if they disappear.
If McDonald's match you Bitcoin for those kids, it would work.
Maybe they should just pay them in Bitcoin. You know, so then you can trade your Bitcoin account after your shift is done at McDonald's. Which is a perfectly good tie-in to, we need the quick crude update. Anything eventful in crude oil this week, Bob?
Oh, it's been eventful. Not really on a news basis. I mean, it continued lower. We had one of the bigger down days of the month this week. So there's just a couple of small things. First of all, the bullish news, of which is very small. The rigs in the Permian have kind of reached peak efficiency. So you're going to start to see the rig counts will probably continue to rise, but there'll be fewer and fewer barrels coming out of the rigs because they're kind of at peak efficiency and looks like they're turning down a little bit. So it's technological advances in fracking have kind of slowed. So prices continue to go lower. You'll still see increased production out of the U.S., but not at the rate that we've been seeing it. You also had the IEA, which is the information, actually, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's the Paris-based Energy Information Administration. They're not the U.S.-based, and they're not the API, which is the American Petroleum Institute. They have predicted the U.S. is going to be above 10 million barrels a day by mid-2018. So that pushed prices. And you've got Saudi Arabia trying to cut exports to the U.S. and Asia to try and reduce stockpiles, and it's not working because the U.S. just started importing more from Iraq. So Iraq is now expected to come close to 5 million barrels a day by mid-2018, which would not put them in compliance with the production cuts. It would put them kind of way above it. So things are just working against OPEC. You've also got the Saudi Aramco IPO. There's infighting going on between the royal family and those who want to price the stock fairly. They're only selling 5% of it, but it's still it's one of the biggest companies ever. So it's a huge amount of money to the royal family, and they're kind of arguing about where the stock price should be, which should push that back a little bit. I think it's only a matter of time before they just throw their hands in the air about price and start pumping all out within OPEC, and especially Russia, Venezuela, places like that could use the income. So, but if the agreement were to hold and the IEA were to be correct, the U.S. would become the world's largest oil producer by quite a bit. That's about it. Prices continue to head lower. It's a free-for-all. I'm calling for 38.
38 long term?
Yeah.
What's the time frame on that?
I would say month and a half, 2 months.
I'm calling for 39.68 longer term. We have some key support. We'll update our path chat with the futures this weekend, but we have some key support short term coming in at 43.75 to 43.40 area. So we'll have to see if they can break through that. That's going to be some pretty significant support.
Yeah, I was on with Jimmy Iorio, and he had that same sort of target. He might have even gotten it from you. I don't know. But I was on Futures Now on CNBC. That was Jimmy's target. And, I did say on the show, I said, you'd have to be an idiot to think that we weren't going to reach his target. And then, yep, we were going to reach mine. But I am talking about just a break of 40 on an absolute just wash of any remaining longs. And, I see that same target. But I'm just talking more medium term.
Yeah, I was just fine-tuning what my actual target was for anything. Ooh. Well, that takes us to the Cool Tech and our drone uprising segment. So Cool Tech, another tie-in, well, not necessarily a FANG stock, but a lot of people started lumping Microsoft in with the FANG stocks because of its run-up. It's pulled back. It's made what a lot of people look at a double bottom. It does not fit our criteria at a double bottom, but so many people will still trade it that way. If it gets above 71.10, again, watch for it could run back up to the most recent highs if it does get above there. Right now it's traded back to its daily 50-day moving average and prior support areas that it was stuck in for a bunch of May. But that's just the chart news. In breaking Microsoft news, Microsoft's artificial intelligence earns a perfect Miss Pac-Man score.
Huh?
Microsoft they trained a hive mind of 150 AIs to accomplish it as a team. This is a new way that a lot of these artificial intelligence things are being trained. They're training. Google did it to play the Go champion. They trained artificial intelligence on little segments. So they're specialized artificial intelligence, little mini
neural net. It's a neural net.
Yeah, but they're mini ones that are very targeted, and then they train them all individually, and then they put them together and have a master neural net hive mind over it, controlling all the individually trained ones, and they're finding that's a really great way to boost artificial intelligence now. So they did this, and it beat all 256 levels of Miss Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 while earning a perfect score of 999,990.
Yeah, but you missed something there.
What?
That's a video game console that came out in 1982. It's not the arcade. It's an Atari 2600.
I know that.
Yar's Revenge would be impressive.
Okay, Mr. Yar's Revenge.
Oh, what a great game that was.
It's just interesting how they're developing all these parallel neural networks to figure out these and beat these games. And it's not really about beating the game. It's about more efficiently training these neural networks in the way that companies are going after it now. Just thought that was fascinating. And also another thing, Facebook. Let me take a look at Facebook's.
I was getting hit when I last looked at it.
It's come back. I mean, it's traded off its highs, but it's slightly rallying back. It has a massive weekly, still valid potential double top, though. And it's still valid if we do get a close below about 144. We'll just call it 144. Then it's against the rotation zone, so it's a lower probability one.
Hello.
Hold on, I gotta get this.
That means it's Julie.
Or Charlotte.
Or Charlotte. Oh, that's awesome. What is this?
So with this break, it's a great time to talk about Patreon. Patreon is a good way to support content creators on the internet. And Path Trading Partners has a Patreon page. And for $1 per month, you can help support our free content, like our Path Chats on YouTube and our podcast. So support Path Trading Partners. Become your own Patreon for the show.
I love it.
I don't know. What else is funny, Bob? What could we do? Mike and I have been using a secret word every episode for the past, since last episode.
A secret word?
Yeah, secret word.
You're using it for what?
Well, the last one was Diablo. I got it in twice.
Okay.
He didn't say it. This one is fidget spinners, because all my YouTube channels, the fidget spinner craze happened, and they all started doing fidget spinner reviews. You can say, if you say fidget spinner at any point, Mike will probably lose his
Okay, I'm doing it. I will absolutely do it.
Or you say it in Italian, I don't know what that would be, and then he will say...
Boy, I don't know what that would be. I have no idea what that would be. Can we talk about the idiocy of Mayweather fighting McGregor?
Yeah, it's $100 million, I heard. Some crazy money.
It's just, I mean, it's I don't know what the hell's wrong with everybody.
People are angry, man. The hate is everywhere. I turned my YouTube channel into my mom's gardening channel, and all I do is gardening videos.
I'm back.
Here's fidget in Italian.
Agitarsi.
Agitarsi.
The secret word for tonight is
agitarsi.
Agitarsi.
I'm trying to figure out how to say fidget spinner in Italian so I can tell my nieces to stop playing with those things.
Fantastic.
Filatore.
Agitarsi filatore. That's how you say fidget spinner in Italian, just so you know. Agitarsi filatore.
Well, we'll have to keep going. I'm going to have another interruption. Plumbers that weren't supposed to be here till 1 are showing up in 20 minutes.
You're a plumber who shows up in 20 minutes.
Huh?
Nothing.
There's going to be a couple interruptions on my end.
Well, just hit the ground running.
So, Facebook news with that potential double top. Facebook teaches machines to negotiate with humans. This is, again, more AI. Facebook's team smashed game theory together with deep learning to equip machines to negotiate with humans by employing rollout techniques more commonly used in game playing AIs to a dialogue scenario. So Facebook used imaginary negotiation scenarios to train these AI, and over the course of the interactions, machines naturally adopted many common negotiation tactics, like placing false emphasis on a low-value item in an attempt to use it as more valuable bargaining chip later. Essentially, it learned to lie.
So they took the art of the deal and the Turing test, and they mixed it together.
That's amazing. The machines learned to lie.
Yeah, the machines learned a lot, affect negotiation by, manipulating it.
a machine can't lie. There's no morality.
It just lied.
It lied. It learned to negotiate.
He's right though. There's no black without white. So if a machine has no morality, it can't really lie. It can place false emphasis.
Yes. I'm calling a lie.
Yeah, well, just look at Hal. You know, Hal was like, I can't complete the mission because these two guys know that something is weird about going to Jupiter. I can't tell them about the monolith, so the only way I can complete the mission is to remove these human variables. That's a very deep cut for 2001 and Space Odyssey, ladies and gentlemen.
You're about to hear my fidget spinner.
Well, you know what? Speaking of gadgets.
Here it comes.
What?
You guys hear that?
What?
You can't hear that.
Hear what?
My fidget spinner.
That's the world's largest fidget spinner done. Now, speaking of gadgets, Best Buy, we've talked about this, what surprised everyone with its earnings a couple weeks ago, rallying up to high of 61.95, pulling back to our rising rotation zone right now, 56.09. But Best Buy will let you rent gadgets before you purchase them. You won't be able to rent drones, though. So this is a new try before you buy system. They're doing this to compete with Amazon, which we've talked about a bunch of this show, where they're pairing up with a Luminoid site. So you can go to Best Buy site, and there'll be a button if you're looking and interested in buying these things, where it'll redirect you to Luminoid site, where you can rent these items, and then if you want to buy them, you'll earn about 20% of the rental price in Luminoid's credits that then you can apply to purchasing the thing from Best Buy. So they're trying to tackle on, like, if you don't know which high-tech gadget you want, GoPro camera, whatever, and you want to rent it before you actually commit to buying it, that's the way Best Buy is looking to further offer something that Amazon doesn't. And this gives them possible uses of their returns and open box items that then those will be turned into these rental things. So they'll be able to recover a stream of revenue that way.
I'm going to go rent some printer ink today.
I don't think you can rent printer ink. And in our bigger news, so that has not had an impact on Best Buy stock yet, but back to Amazon, Google/Alphabet, and Apple ties everything together because they all have their speakers. There's, these home speaker, Alexa, Google Home, the new trash can speaker Apple just came out with. Supposed to sound really good. Staff have found this one. Skills Echo owners, which is Amazon, have used at least once in 2016 to use their Echo or Dot or something. 85% have used it to set a timer.
Interesting.
82% play a song. 66% read the news. 64
fake news. I'm going to clarify that. Fake news. I
think it's just read the news.
It is Amazon.
Set an alarm is 64%. Check the time, 62%. Then we go all the way at the bottom, 30%. What's interesting is buy something on Amazon Prime was only 32%. I guess that's sort of high, though, because I've never used any. I'm like, I'll just sit in front of my computer. I guess I'm old school.
It has to be something like, do you buy like staples? Like, do you buy toilet paper? Do you buy Kleenex? Do you buy paper towels? Do you buy dish soap?
No.
That's where I think it would come in handy. If it's just like, replace my last order.
I've looked, but it's Amazon is a higher price than that, so that's why I haven't used those things.
And bathroom tissue is really specific. You don't want the really wrong stuff for your bum. I mean,
I know exactly which brand I want.
No, it's like
I could easily go, Amazon, please order me the Northern with the quilted comfort pockets. Be real easy.
You got very specific there.
I'm very specific about things that involve my culo. You're welcome, Stafford.
You need to say fidget spinner in Italian again.
Speaking of
something in Italian, I didn't say fidget spinner.
Bum. Really?
What? Speaking of Bob's bum. Visitarsi, filiatore.
Netflix, another one of the fangs. Netflix now surpasses major cable providers in the U.S. with number of subscribers. So this is the first time ever that there's now more people subscribing to Netflix than to cable TV.
With zero reason to have cable for movies, that's for sure.
So if anybody's looking for also Netflix on the weekly, this is pulled back from a high of 166.87, 148.46 as this record. It was down to the 148.50 level. Right now it's trading 152, but right around this 148 level to 150 level, rising rotation zone on a weekly basis. So in a prior breakouts resistance zone becoming support. So if you're looking to accumulate some Netflix stock, that's a good area. Not saying it has to hold here. If it does break below that, we could see it trade down to 140, but we're just talking for longer term investors who are looking to accumulate something.
Clarification, accumulation level, not a short call. Look, I now have Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and an HBO and Showtime app subscription, and it is way less than my cable.
Yeah.
Way less. Now, granted, I don't get the reality shows that I used to embarrassingly watch, but I'm so glad.
So they released an idea for the Rev 2 of the Echo, and it looks just like an egg timer.
What's the
I
Rev
think it
2
should
of
have
the
had a
Echo?
screen on it, though. They should have had an egg timer with a digital screen.
That's satire, ladies and gentlemen.
And Amazon, back to them again. This is interesting. This is the ironic segment of the week. Amazon has just been granted a patent to control what you see and what you don't on your phone when you're inside one of their physical stores. So this patent titled Physical Store Online Shopping Control will, if you're like trying to browse and see what other people's prices are, like at Best Buy or something else or some competitor, it will, and you're on their Wi-Fi network, it will then analyze what you're browsing for and decide what it's going to show you. So now they're getting in the store. But isn't that what everybody used to do? Like you go to Best Buy and then you do, I'm going to look at this thing and then I'm going to go to Amazon on my phone and, it's cheaper. I'm just going to buy it from Amazon. Now Amazon's trying to prevent that in their stores by controlling what you see. Thought that was super ironic.
I'm just going to Costco. Forget this.
I'm going to go to Amazon Whole Foods.
I wonder then if you see your price of the mango at Whole Foods and you want to see what Walmart's selling your mango for, if Amazon's going to deploy that technology at Whole Foods and it's not going to show you your Walmart mango.
Is a mango code for a pretty lady?
A mango was code for mango?
I'm going to Whole Foods by Amazon to see the mangoes.
He throws those things in, and then you and I just go, oh, geez, here he goes. We don't necessarily take a stand either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the idiot. I'm curly. Yeah, definitely.
I'm curly.
I'm the idiot.
By the way, if you care about boxing or MMA, don't watch this embarrassment of Mayweather-McGregor. Go ahead.
Did you just tweet that out?
Yup.
So that's what you're paying attention to right now?
Well, you were talking about egg timers, and I don't know.
No, in Elon's Playhouse, I don't actually have anything about Elon this week, although he was trying to lay out his plans to get to Mars in front of the scientific people, but I did not want to talk about that. But in other
Can I hold on. Don't jump out of Elon's Playhouse yet. Have you guys ever seen that brief documentary of him getting his fastest car in the world? What was it, a McLaren? Back in like 1998.
McLaren F1, the entire body, the engine bay is covered in gold for heat dispersion.
Yeah, he had like just sold some company. I don't know which one.
PayPal.
And he hadn't started PayPal yet. He was starting Xbank, which I believe turned into PayPal. He'd sold some other company. Yeah, and he's just like, to look at him at that age, I mean, you could see he got beat up every single day until he sold that company and bought a McLaren.
The worst part of that episode I watched was at the end. He said, I want to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. And the way you get on the cover of Rolling Stone is you buy a guitar and you become a rock star. So he's on probation after that wine comment and pills he made.
Yes, he is on probation. To tie in the things that could affect Tesla, no longer Tesla Motors, but just Tesla. GM, we've talked about the Chevy Bolt electric vehicles going on sale nationally a month early.
I want.
So GM has moved up its plans. The Bolt has been selling pretty well because this is going to be a direct competitor to the Model 3. Bolt is outselling their other car, the Volt, which is a hybrid combo. They're ramping up a little early, and this is fascinating in the self-driving tech. GM begins mass producing self-driving Bolt electric vehicles. So now they're producing them in the self-driving mode. They're doing, I think, 1,600 as a test. They've been testing these cars in San Francisco, Scottsdale, and Detroit since 2016, and now they're starting to move into mass producing more of them to roll out bigger scale testing. But that's pretty fascinating that we're already to that point.
The last Chevy I bought was a 1968 Impala Fastback with a 327, and let me tell you, this will make me go back to Chevy. This is a sexy runaround car. I like it.
This little Bolt?
Yeah, it's been in development for 2 years. I've been following it. It's already fully baked and ready to go. I like it.
I developed an odd sort of love for these little hatchbacky things, being in Italy so much, you know? My cousins, as I started to notice cars, my cousins would show me these little hatchbacks that were like souped up and
hot hatches.
Souped up in the factory, yeah. And it was just like, that's cool stuff.
A goofy friend of mine who I went to high school with, I don't remember his name, he bought this Honda Civic Si, and I was so stupid because I thought he was cool, and I went out and bought the exact same car he did. So we had matching Honda Civic Si's, hot hatches. So this car reminds me of that red Honda Civic Si that I had. It's cool and cute, and it looks good.
I had a Honda Civic Si.
Oh, that was you.
Which one of you had it?
I got it.
And then I got one. And then I got a second one 2 years later.
Now, in our cryptocurrency segment, we're going to talk about Ripple, which is a pretty cool cryptocurrency I've been looking at because of its rapid settlement feature. What were you saying?
I've never even heard of this one. How is this different?
Well, Ripple is not exactly like Bitcoin because it doesn't use the same blockchain stuff, but it's been out since 2012. Ripple purports to enable secure, instant, and nearly free global financial transactions of any size with no chargebacks. It supports tokens representing fiat currency, cryptocurrency, commodity, and other units of value such as frequent flyer miles or mobile minutes. It's pretty interesting. Now, how does it differ from Bitcoin? Bitcoin's a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency focusing on decentralization. It's also a payment method for both consumer and merchants alike. So Bitcoin is really a cryptocurrency in its truest form because it's issued on the blockchain through the process we know as mining. It's also a currency without any real governance, even though mining pools are responsible for validating transaction. Some people will argue that against Bitcoin that mining pools make it less decentralized than it should be since few pools control the majority of the network's mining power, which is a control since a lot of the major miners are all in China now. One of the biggest drawbacks to Bitcoin is how it takes 10 minutes or sometimes much longer. If there's a big rush on Bitcoin, it can sometimes take days to fully settle a transaction, which could be a problem if you're trying to pay for a coffee at a coffee shop. Could you come back tomorrow and pick up your coffee? The transaction's not settling. Now, Ripple and its currency, Ripple is the whole way its settlement and delivery mechanism, and it's got a currency called XRP. It's not technically a cryptocurrency, but people put it in that bucket since Ripple's XRP token is a digital asset issued on a distributed ledger, so it's got the distributed ledger feature. It also shares some decentralization traits, although on a much smaller scale compared to Bitcoin's. All XRP transactions pass through nodes and validators similar to Bitcoin. However, on the Ripple network, those transactions do not rely on the mining protocol. So you cannot mine XRP. Ripple also has a tighter degree of governance as the Ripple consensus ledger relies on institutional validators run by global banks and a few other institutions. So this is really geared towards global banks, but it's fascinating because I've been looking into trading Ripple, and you do have this backbone of these institutions, and you have the settlement, which is near instantaneous.
Does it feel like that's exactly what's going to keep the Bitcoin loyalists away from Ripple? It's the fact that
That's
it's
what some people will think, but
banking centric.
A lot of, well, it's still not centralized with one entity. It's still distributed, but it's actually distributed through a lot of bigger institutions that have some stability with them.
Yeah, you saw what that happened with LIBOR, though. I mean, the London Interbank Offered Rate was also distributed among the biggest banks, and they ended up manipulating it. Possible in this technology.
You still have a distributed
you guys know that
ledger,
I don't
so
know,
you can't. It's just sort of, it's not as well, a lot of people are going to argue that eventually there's some controversy with Bitcoin coming up, and that they have to there's going to be a hard fork again because they're going to have to change the code to allow for faster settlement fees. And now there's major concerns that, as I said, all these big miners, because of the amount of energy, meaning power, to mine Bitcoins now, most of them these shops are run in China on these wind farms and solar things. And so there's really it's become centralized in China, a lot of the new production of Bitcoin. So you have a very small group of people, because the miners can all vote on how things are going to work with Bitcoin, and they're all essentially in China now.
Yeah, using stolen American intellectual property because they build the computers for us.
That's a big risk item with Bitcoin that you do not have with Ripple, because you cannot mine it, and you have more stable financial institutions to sort of secure it as a not just a digital currency, but also a delivery mechanism and a what's the word I'm looking for? Now I just went blank.
Fidget spinner.
Yes, I'm looking for fidget spinner.
Figitarsi filatore. So everybody as I speak about cryptocurrencies, I used to mute because I was so uninterested in it. Everyone listening should understand that I don't fully understand them. I'm in the learning process. But is the idea that this is centralized amongst financial institutions the biggest roadblock for people accepting Ripple? Are we waiting for a Ripple that isn't centralized in China and isn't with financial institutions? Is that essentially what we're waiting for?
I don't know
because people who love Bitcoin, I think, are going to be like, yeah, this is right back to the banks controlling stuff. And I could be wrong,
I don't know if they're really controlling anything, because they're not mining it. They just have the ledger books on it. So, and you can't fake the ledger books. So it's distributed. So they can't actually influence it. This is where a lot of this is going to go, though, because if it's going to take off, it's going to have to get a little more backing, and it's going to have more of a global presence. You could have major institutions all over the world using the distributed ledger technology, which nobody's really controlling it. They're just providing the infrastructure for it. So it could be a more accepted version.
Plumbers.
Yep.
Accepted from a perspective of like going into a coffee shop kind of a thing.
It could take on more, well, even it could take on a more credible way. And it's the transactions. What's fascinating, if you really want to pay for something. Now, Bitcoin, you could probably be a lot more anonymous. So the people who want to be anonymous can do that. But if I'm actually looking to have a digital wallet where I'm storing some Ripple in it, and it's probably not going to have the same major price fluctuations that we've seen in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. If I don't want my Ripple to be going up or down 10% a day.
Right.
So let's put some in a wallet, and I want to go to Whole Foods and buy my mango. I don't.
Figitarsi filatore.
You just take her out. You don't buy her.
Okay, then I'm going to buy a lemon.
Whenever I hear Ripple, I think of Fred Sanford and Sanford and Son drinking Ripple. I know, it's just like...
I know, I love it. No, so I've been looking at one, again, learning process. Mike and Stafford know more about this than I do.
Well, Bob, I want to stop you here. Mike and I have been talking about this, and I'm at 100 feet. Mike is at 30,000 feet. So you're probably...
Okay. I might be at 80, maybe 50.
Yeah, you're Kitty Hawk right now, right?
Yeah, but one of the ones I've been looking at is Strataris, Strats. That's the one, because now in the process of learning, I'm like, okay, I think I understand Bitcoin. I think I understand Ethereum to a certain degree. And I said, let me find one that people aren't really talking about and see if I can understand that. And the thing that again, really early, the thing I like about Strat is it's Microsoft Technologies, which leads me to believe that it's built like on a Microsoft architecture, which leads me to believe it could have the same advantage of a Ripple in terms of it being accepted, right? Because so many corporate infrastructures are Microsoft.
Or you could try to get your strats out and get a blue screen of death.
Exactly. Get a virus because
it could say applying update. Please don't shut down for the next 3 hours. And you could be standing there at the coffee shop saying it's doing an update. I can't pay yet.
No, Bob, you're officially at 200 feet. I don't know what you're talking about.
With Strat?
You got you're investigating.
I'm just starting to spend a lot of time looking at it because, I didn't believe in the cell phone, and it happened. So I might as well go with this.
Didn't believe in the cell phone?
Like these stupid touchscreens will never grab hold.
I love my pager.
I like the clicky. I love my QWERTY keyboard. I loved my pager. 911. Yeah, everybody sends 911. You.
Gosh, the pager.
Manga. Minga. It means penis head in Italian.
Oh, yeah.
But go ahead.
Really?
There's a Zappa song that is called Minga.
He was Italian.
He did things in all different languages. So much German. He does just very prolific.
We have to roll into the economy segment.
Yes, we do.
And because we had all of the Fed meeting this week, which we'll get to, just going over some other numbers before we get to the Fed meeting, which you can talk about in depth, Bob, because you are our official Fed Watch person.
I'm the Fed
Producer
guy.
Price Index.
Fed head.
Coming in at 0 versus expectations of 0. And year over year coming in at 2.4 versus expectations of 2.3. Core PPI coming in 2.1 year over year versus expectations of 2.0, so slightly higher, last of 1.9. Now, this is the first print of greater than 2% in 3 years. CPI, which is the consumer price index, 1.9 year over year versus expectations of 2, so that coming in slightly lower. Retail sales, big miss here, coming in at negative 0.3% versus expectations of 0.2. Retail sales ex autos coming in at minus 3.3% versus expectations of 0.2%. Business inventories declining, coming in at minus 0.2%, same as expectations. Initial jobless claims 237 versus expectations of 241, nothing big there. Industrial production, this was interesting, coming in at 0 versus expectations of 0.2%. The GDP Now model, they're going to release another one today. It has not been released yet, but the last one this week that was released, real GDP growth, second quarter, they're now putting up to 3.2%. So what did the Fed do with all those numbers, which a lot of them aren't really great?
Yeah, the retail sales number isn't as bad as the headline looks, but the rest of them are pretty weak. I mean, retail sales actually grew 5.17% year over year when you include autos, and that's the highest growth since last February. And the 6-month average is now just shy of 4%, which is the best since 2015. But the headline was bad. The Fed hiked rate 25 basis points, which was expected. So the overnight rate range is now 1% to 1.25%. That was fully expected. It was fully priced in. But the Fed also, in the face of what I see as declining headline consumer prices, announced their plan to unwind the balance sheet. Now, the Fed balance sheet is $4.47 trillion. Oddly enough, that's actually up $1 billion from February of this year. So the balance sheet actually grew. And people need to understand that doesn't mean they're purchasing assets. There's a lot of things that go into the Fed's balance sheet. They put out a quarterly balance sheet every quarter, oddly enough, which I do like to look at because I like to look at kind of where the money is coming from. And, Treasury general accounting was up $43 billion. Foreign investment was down $56 billion. There's a lot of numbers that go into it other than just asset purchases. And their total liabilities were up $1 billion. Their notes in circulation was up $30 billion, but their reserve purchase agreements was down $62 billion. So it's a big mix of things. but the balance sheet actually will ebb and flow. It isn't just asset purchases. So they announced that they're going to start to scale back their reinvestments of maturing assets that they've been purchasing ever since the crisis. They have not talked about selling any securities. So you're not talking about a massive extra tightening, but it is an extra tightening. So they talked about letting $6 billion a month in maturing treasuries run off, which means that when the treasuries mature, and the vast majority of what they have is 5 years or shorter in duration. So when the treasuries mature, they're not going to reinvest those proceeds. The money will actually go to the treasury. And they're going to begin cutting $4 billion a month in agencies until both reaches the level of $30 billion per month and $20 billion per month, respectively. So those are not crazy big numbers, but you have to understand that when they start this, and they haven't announced a start date, they just said they're going to start it in 2017. When they do start that is $6 billion and $4 billion, respectively, that are not going to be bought. So that does drop the price of these things, raising the yield in theory. But again, it's really in the details, because some of them might be 12-month maturities, some of them might be 2-year maturities. There's a lot that's going to go into the detail of this, and they haven't even really announced the start date. It looks like it'll be sometime around October, November of this year. So it's excess tightening.
What do you think the overall effect? Do you think they're going to hike again this year?
I don't. Look, the Fed was not going to go into the meeting and look at this week's retail sales and this week's CPI and say, okay, that's it. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. Not when the market had it priced in at about 96% probability, because that was going to cause ripples through the market that they don't want to see. Should they be concerned about that? Theoretically, no. It's not part of their mandate, but we all know they are. Now, Kashkari dissented, right? He wanted to keep rates on hold. That's the Minneapolis Fed president, Neil Kashkari. He dissented, so it wasn't even unanimous, even though the market had it as unanimous. And if the data continues to soften, which I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, we both think it will, they can't. They won't. They'll start to slowly say, we'll do it if it's appropriate. They didn't even call themselves data dependent in this particular statement. So that's what I'm going to be watching. If they start referring back to being data dependent, then I think you'll see the third rate hike get priced out. But if they continue to leave that out and keep saying a third rate hike is appropriate, right now, to me, it looks like building a runway to be able to cut rates if something were to happen. I called it runway building on TV when it happened. That's what it looks like to me.
One of the things I thought Yellen's Q&A, which she did afterwards, Fed must avoid risk of needing to hike rapidly. That's the one thing that jumped out at me from her Q&A section.
There you go.
By the way, Walmart just announced that they're buying internet retailer Bonobos for $310 million, and they're doing it in cash.
There you go. Bonobos, good.
What is Bonobos? I don't know anything about Bonobos.
It started off as a men's clothier, really, and they do a lot of stuff now, but they're just it's really high-end, affordable stuff, if that makes sense. Kind of an oxymoron, but it's really high-end, affordable clothing. They make really good stuff. They're very, very in tune with trends. They're not crazy, and their stuff is really high quality for what you consider to be a reasonable price. Maybe that's going to change now that they're being bought.
So Bonobos founder and CEO Andy Dunn will join Walmart to oversee the company's online consumer brands. Bonobos products will be offered on his Jet.com unit.
Yeah, they should probably keep it out of Walmart, only because, kind of cheapen the idea of the brand. I don't know why anybody would care if they're buying the same name brand they used to buy, if they're buying it from Walmart, but I think they do. I think people who are into fashion tend to be a little shallow. Yes, I'm including myself in that.
And by the way, some of these Amazon tweets are really hysterical that are going by, like this one. Amazon buys Whole Foods for $13.7 billion, roughly equivalent to 11 shopping bags of their organic berries.
See? Told you. Whole paycheck.
I have counted the number of bags I leave with and referred to the price, and then compared that to leaving a normal store. And it's like, wow, $121, 2 bags. Then I leave Walmart. Wow, $121, 18 bags.
You have like 4 shopping carts worth of stuff.
No, it's crazy.
Is Costco public or is it private? Because that's
Costco's public.
Costco's public.
I love Kirkland. I love that.
Costco. Just speaking of that,
Hello.
really.
Hello. Hello.
Fidget spinner championships.
Hello. Digitarse filatore.
Yes.
No. Maybe. Uh-huh.
Yes, my little mango.
The big mangoes.
Jesus. See, that's what I mean. I like a little crazy Stafford in the background. Yeah, we don't charge for this unless, of course, you want to become one of our patrons on Patreon, which would be nice.
Did we lose Mike?
He is on a call.
Did we lose Mike? Let's see where we are. You did a great Fed read. Hey, did you see my video I sent to you on body language for Yellen?
No, I haven't watched that yet, but I will.
You must.
Saved it.
Because it's so interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a feel good. High trust, better. She feels better than the last administration. It's just, if I send you something like that, that's definitely inside. Sometimes I send you stuff that's outside baseball, but that is inside baseball, and you might find value from that.
Well, back to Costco. Costco's down pretty big. Costco's down like 6%.
Interesting.
Off this. I mean, a lot of these, it's a huge gap, too, on the daily. Wow, it was trading 180 yesterday, and now it's trading 168. This can't be. I mean, people are treating this like a retail apocalypse because Amazon buys Whole Foods.
It's awesome.
I mean, I think we have a little overreaction. So my thing is, if you want any of these stocks like that aren't going to zero, like Costco, I needed a nice pullback.
I mean, Costco sells gasoline. They're not going anywhere.
No, this is a nice pullback in Costco. It's trading right at the bottom of our weekly rotation zone right now. So if you're looking to accumulate, again, Costco, this could be a good area to pick some up.
Well, it's not just that. Remember that Kroger had, bad profits and bad comps, and they lowered earnings guidance for the year. So it's a combination of those things. I mean, you saw some of these stocks. I don't know because I can't look at the charts right now, but I think this is probably the second day down for a few of these.
Costco. No, I mean, it was trading in a horizontal channel right between about 179 and 182 for the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
It gapped up to that level based off of earnings. Now, its funny thing is it's trading lower than its gap up was for earnings. It filled a gap back from April. So
yeah,
this is a pretty good, decent place, anytime if people are looking to accumulate some Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of accumulating stuff, Fitch, the amount of global negative yielding sovereign debt outstanding rose substantially to $9.5 trillion as of May 31st from $8.6 trillion on March 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a lot of negative yielding sovereign debt.
Yeah, if only I paid attention to the rating agencies. I haven't done that since they had Madoff at AAA.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you want to talk about the Bank of England? Because they also kept their interest rates at 0.25%, but there's a little bit because they had a vote of 5-3, and that wasn't expected.
Yeah, that's all I was going to talk about. Is they had a vote of 5-3, and it wasn't expected. That's really it. I mean, you saw the pound get stronger, but Mark Carney didn't really reference it in his speech late that same night as anything that was concerning. And, Brexit talks start on Monday. And essentially, the Brexit's going to be a little bit more difficult for the UK than initially thought. They're going to be negotiating less of a hard Brexit. At least that's the perception in the market. I don't really have an opinion on it. And Mark Carney is 5'9" with 4 children. That's it. By the way, Mark Carney, for those of you that don't know, is the head economist of the Bank of England. He's the chief governor and chairman of the Bank of England.
I have to deal with a plumber thing quickly. So do you want to go into your what and why? Then I'll come
you have the what.
I have
You
the
have the
what.
what.
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann and ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
My why has changed, actually. It was... I was going to do something else, but now I'm going to address sort of the idea of price action and why it matters, and why the idea of trading now, with all this HFT, which stands for high frequency trading. In the past, back 10, 20 years ago, when Mike and I were coming up, people always wanted to do really quick in and out trading, and that sort of hasn't left the sort of public sphere in terms of like, well, you're a day trader, then you quickly in and out. And I think if you're going to trade actively in the way that Mike and I do, and the way that some of the guys in the futures and FX markets do, you need to actually back your duration up. And his is a very good example why. If you were long Whole Foods and you were one of these short-term in and out traders, you would have gotten stopped out yesterday when they dropped 6.5%, and there's no way anyone could say they wouldn't have. But if you actually shrink your position size, and I've probably talked about this ad nauseum, it's just such a very important thing to talk about. If you shrink your holdings of Whole Foods and stretched your price ranges out, in other words, I'm not going to buy 1,000 shares at 33 and get out of them at 32. I'm going to buy 100 shares at 33 and get out of them at 28. That's a better way of trading now, because HFT flings in and out of stuff for reasons that you can't explain, nor can you adjust to. So Mike, again, had a long signal on this. He had a stop way below yesterday's low, and he had a target of just below 42, which it reached. That's because we're able to do smaller positions for longer hold times than we would have 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, we would have done larger positions for shorter hold times. That is not the world of the non-automated day trader now. Those of us sitting in front of our computer screens at home, drinking an espresso, or playing with a Figitare Filatare State. I actually think I just said it wrong. Figitare, I don't remember the word for spinner. Playing with your fidget spinner, you're not able to have the computer automation AI power that some of these HFTs do. So lengthen your duration, shrink your position sizes, and your old patterns, your old methods might still work. You got to do the research. Ours do. That's it. That's my why.
Speaking of my what, this is a tie-in.
That sounded weird.
Speaking of my what, it's a tie-in.
All right, tie it in.
You were... I'm going to Whole Foods to buy organic berries then. We talked about this weeks ago I had the 10-year note and the bonds triggered these massive double bottom patterns on a weekly basis. This was back from the week of April 10th. The notes have now hit the stop reduction target area. So this has been sort of the stealth climbing up in the notes and bonds. Bonds have not, but the notes have been steadily climbing, and we are at now on a weekly basis where we're reducing our target. And again, bonds traded up to about 156.06 this week. Our stop reduction target on our bonds is 156.30. So that's what we're still watching, this slow playing out trade where you're talking about methods and using it on much longer time frames. Well, these are some longer time frames that our methods still work on consistently enough.
Digitarse filatore. That's it.
That was it?
That's fidget spinner in Italian.
Okay. Well, I have nothing else this week then.
That's my fidget spinner.
That sounds like your Rick phone from
Your pager.
I miss my pager. 911. I would page you with 911.
I would always do 80085.
Boobless?
boobs.
It says mango.
Boobs.
It does not say mango.
Oh, God. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. This is Bob Iacino. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Well, you know what the headline just came across?
What?
Grocerageddon goes global.
Oh, my God. Grocerageddon.
Grocerageddon.
Everything's a geddon.
Agitarsi, filatore.